Like, I like the pistol. What are the things we have? Not a whole lot of stuff. We just unlocked a shotgun. Sure. Let's try with the shotgun. We completed the mission Sparks Fly. So yeah, that's basically my whole stance on that. Also, this DLC handles progression way, way, way better. In the main game, you'd have all kinds of main missions. In the main game and online, you have all kinds of freaking main missions around the map. But I know it isn't online. I don't know if it is for the main game, but it sure feels like it. They're just like randomly generated among like these kinds of options. Do a whole bunch of do this, this, and this kind of randomly generated from a whole set of options. And all they'll really give you is freaking in-game money that you can use to buy clothes, I guess, that, you know, there's better ways to earn funds anyway, so you have no reason to do that. And in online, it'll give you, like, progression towards your online rank, which there's also much better ways to do, so there's literally no reason to do that. So you literally have no reason to ever do, like, the side missions and whatnot. But in the DLC here, your side missions are your skill tree. Every time you complete a side mission, you're going to be unlocking, like, a new hack or a new weapon or something like that. Like, it directly impacts how you're going to be able to play from this point onward. And it makes me really wonder why that wasn't, you know, the freaking system from the get-go. Because that's actually a very satisfying way to handle progression. Or a very satisfying way to handle side content, by having it give you stuff that you actually care about that'll impact the rest of your playthrough. Unlike, you know, the main game and online, which just give you, like, generic stuff that you can get easier from literally, like, anywhere else, essentially. So yeah, now we can view missions. Shipping and handling. Freddy needs help getting a shipment of LTL weapons out of London and is into the hands of a growing resistance cell in Manchester, where Albion is trying to establish a presence. All she needs is for Aiden to accompany the shipment to the edge of London and leave them for Freddy's long-haul transporter. Should be an easy job. Like, all of these missions are freaking pre-written things, as opposed to, I know it is online. I don't know if it is in the main campaign, but it certainly feels like it. I didn't really have the motivation to do them. They're just randomly generated. So you can, in theory, do them forever, technically, since they'll just keep on generating. But, like, why would you? Look at these reflections, that's so cool! Oh, that's cool. So you don't really have the motivation to. But in this, with them actually being, you know, dedicated pre-made missions that there's a finite amount of, they get to be more fun, have more diversity to them, and have freaking rewards that you actually care about. Like, I've already beaten this DLC, and yet I still feel motivated to hop in and finish off these missions because they're fun, you know? Hello, Mortis. How are you doing today? Welcome to the shenanigans of freaking rambling about Watch Dogs Legion while I, while I enjoy my new card, I guess, and stuff.
An American hero I was hoping to see.
Another pyrotechnics issue?
Nah, this time it is guns. I have an LTL shipment for a resistance cell in Manchester.
Why are your earrings, like, slightly floating out?
Preferably one who's tough and crusty and old.
Is this how you normally ask for favors?
Oh, come on. It's an easy job. Just get the truck out to the edge of town and my long haul guy will handle the rest.
Fine.
Okay, will do. Will do exactly that. Doing great. Oh, sorry, why Discord, yeah, the whole figure there. And whatnot. Acquire the weapons truck. Will do. Glad you got the 3070 though. I appreciate it, Cyril. Also, something very interesting about the card. My power supply that I was running before wasn't good enough for it. So I actually had to buy a new power supply as well. So, you know, power supplies aren't exactly super expensive, so it wasn't that big of a deal. But, like, it was annoying because today, rather than taking out my old card and putting the new card in and that literally being it, I literally had to, like, disconnect everything of my old power supply from my computer and hook up a brand new power supply to everything. So,
Truck must be around here somewhere.
I totally earned my license. I totally earned my driver's license. This is my stop, by the way. Oh, we'll just hop in and acquire it. This looks like a van, not a truck. But yeah, so it was a little bit irksome having to disconnect, like, everything from my computer. Like, everything that was connected to the power supply, that is. And I was worried that I'd forget to plug something in, but luckily it worked out. I have forgotten to plug in things before when changing parts around, and I've had to, like, panic call my cousin. That's a even greater computer expert than I am. I'm like the basics kind of computer expert. if that would have happened, I would have had to call my cousin, who will usually, with another set of eyes, just look at my computer and be like, oh, did you remember to plug in, like, the other spot that the motherboard needs power? Which is what happened to me last time, having a motherboard that needs to be plugged in 2 different places and me thinking it was just one. Ah! So a lot of the times I need another set of eyes to tell me the one thing I forgot to plug in. Luckily, that wasn't the case. So, I actually... You must lose your... What the hell? No.
Problem. I've got
Yeah,
Calvi
that is a
closing in on
problem.
me from
But
all
yeah,
directions.
the
I think we've been
3070,
made.
it's going very well for me. To answer that
It's your
question,
job, you tell me,
like, we're running at a solid 60 FPS,
Freddy.
as opposed to, you know, the freaking 35 to 50 that I was hitting with my old card. Along with the fact that as opposed to playing on, like, low/medium settings, we get to play on this. So, you know, all while running a stable stream that's not running into, like, any issues on my computer like it sometimes would with the old card. I guess it look like this.
I'm getting
So,
tunneled
it's
out here.
great
Have
that
you
I
found a
got
bite
it.
or not?
It sucks that it was the day after it sucks that I got it the day after I beat this, you know? So, you know, this is freaking beautiful. Like, I've never played anything that looks like this before, because I'm a freaking Nintendo gamer. I had an Xbox 360. The only PlayStation I've ever owned was my PS2. And apart from that, I've been like a PC gamer / like Nintendo and stuff. So, you know, Nintendo isn't exactly a huge stickler for graphics. They make very beautiful games, like take Breath of the Wild, for example. Whoa, how about you don't? But, you know, I don't exactly, until this point, I haven't ever exactly owned hardware that's gonna be like top of the line in terms of like the possible graphics of the time. So it's like, this is a new experience for me, and I'm looking around at this and being like, oh my gosh, it's beautiful. You want to like not be tailing me? But yeah, boopity bop. Yeah, I assume that's supposed to be NVENC rather than HVEC. I assume that might be an autocorrect thing. Whoa, that was weird to the Ubisoft games. For streaming on the 3 series is the cat's ass. It's freaking very, very nice. I could have encoded with NVENC with like my last graphics card, but you know, it wasn't one of the ones specifically designed for it, so it wasn't the best. And the way that I streamed before was on X264, just encoding with my CPU and calling it a day. And it did it well enough, but not the best. And streaming this game on like low to medium settings, it would just fluctuate between anywhere from like 35 to 50 FPS, anywhere in that range, depending on what was going on. Vehicle's about to break down, great. Whereas now, we get to play like this, and we're hitting a solid 60 FPS. I haven't dropped any frames yet this stream. It's beautiful. And the really, like, as I was mentioning at the very beginning of this stream, oh, come on, no! As I was mentioning at the very beginning of this stream, I heard in my game design classes during like the end of high school and and throughout my university game design classes all about ray tracing technology and whatnot, since it's within our field and whatnot. So it was cool hearing about it for so long. Like, I remember when I was in high school, we were hearing about it like as it was revealed, essentially. Well, not as it was revealed, but in like the early stages before it was on the market, I believe. And our freaking teacher was talking to us like, this is gonna be like the next step for graphics technology. Isn't that fascinating? Well, I guess I'll go through the checkpoint then. It's like, after hearing about it for so many years directly in my computing science classes and game design classes, it's like I finally get to experience it for myself and see that, look at these reflections on the water on the, it is so cool. It's so freaking cool. Let's turn it off for a second and whoops, let's see what it's like. Just for a hot second, let's turn it off. So it's like so cool to have like heard about, like, let's turn the, hold on. Like, it's so cool to have heard about it for so long and now be able to like, you know, directly see it. Like, let's turn the reflections to low and ray tracing off. And then, yeah, this is what the ground looks like now, looking around. So there's like still some very basic kind of light reflections from like headlights and stuff. But if we go back into settings, options, video, and then we go ahead and turn reflections, whoops, all the way to ultra, and then go ahead and turn the ray trace reflections all the way to ultra. Oh my good gracious. It really is like night and day. It's so fascinating. I love technology. Technology is so cool. My goodness. But yeah, my parents, you know, looking at how much I spent on a freaking graphics card are like, yeah, only the freaking nerdiest of nerds are gonna be, only the most tech savvy need to have the best technology kind of people are gonna be getting cards like that. And I was like, yeah, you're probably not wrong. But it is definitely the kind of thing that makes people very fascinated with this kind of technology like me. Very happy. Makes people like me very happy. But yeah, reminds me of your PS5, though you expect it to be better as console hardware is always behind PC hardware. What, expect the PS5 to be a little bit behind this? It might be. At some point I should look into exactly what the specs on the freaking PS5 are and figure out if, like, that's something my computer now surpasses just by putting in that one freaking graphics card. Like, my motherboard and CPU are not exactly top of the line. They're pretty good, but they're not like top of the line like the freaking graphic. Well, even the graphics card isn't top of the line if you want to classify that as like a 3080 or a 3090 or something like that. But like graphics card is now the higher end of things, but my motherboard and CPU aren't. My motherboard and CPU were like pretty good for when they first came out. Now they're kind of like, okay, they get the job done. And as you can see, they're still getting the job done pretty well when paired with that. But like, you know, my computer isn't exactly a situation where the target is not a van. Did I destroy the van with that? Are you kidding me? I destroyed the van with that. Ah! No. Anyway, like I am sure that a very, very top of the line PC. Oh my goodness, we're starting this like from the not starting it from the beginning. Wait, was that a checkpoint? Whoa, wait. That was a checkpoint. Anyway, I'm sure that like a very top of the line PC
That's not exactly
could like outpace whatever console. This is not a top of the line PC.
Yeah, you see,
It's
the thing about the money is,
like the other hardware, like the motherboard, CPU, they're pretty good. They're not like top of the line or anything like that. They're pretty all right, but not anything like super crazy. I screwed up. I shouldn't have pulled out a gun since they were just planning on like brawling and whatnot. But yeah, gosh darn it. As I was saying, I'm sure that like a top of the line PC would be able to like, you know, outperform whatever console. But this is not a top of the line PC. The graphics card is very up there now, but like it makes me wonder, with like a very good graphics card and a very average everything else, would this outperform something like a PS5? I'm genuinely curious now. Because, I mean, most of the rest of my stuff is pretty average. I do have, like, a lot of stuff in this computer. I literally have 2 solid-state drives, one of which is directly connected to my motherboard, and that's the one that has my OS on it now. 2 hard drives, so I have 4 drives total. I have 4 sticks of 8 gigabytes of RAM for a total of 32 gigs of RAM. So I have a lot of RAM in this machine. So it's not like this is a, best of the best kind of, wait, return the weapons truck? Oh, what? So it's not like this is the best of the best kind of PC, but it's pretty alright. And at this point, my PC might be worth more than my car. My car's a freaking rundown hunk of junk that I love. I adore my car. My car is, well, it's not too rundown. Let's clarify that. My car's an old hunk of junk, but it's my old hunk of junk and I adore it. But my PC might be worth more than my car now, interestingly enough. So there's that. I think it has a chance it might do. Now I kind of want to look into the freaking exact specs of the PS5 and be like, huh, would this outperform a PS5? Because now I'm genuinely curious. I'm genuinely curious about that now. It's interesting things to think about. Squizzy coming through. But yeah, I am quite happy with my PC setup now. As it should be, what, having a PC worth more than a car? My car's not worth a whole lot. Like, if I had to guess the current value of my car that it could be sold at on the market, like in terms of Canadian dollar, it'd probably be like, I don't know, $2,000, like maybe somewhere up to 2.5, which is probably somewhere around what this PC is worth now. Like, what's probably gonna I thought I lost you. That's why I started slowing down. I'm probably just gonna wind up selling my car to my neighbor though, who I did the driving practice with. I'm probably just gonna sell it from somewhere from like 1K to 1,500 is probably what I'm gonna wind up selling my car for. Is the thing, which is, you know, literally half the price of what was paid for this stupid freaking graphics card. So, you know. So, you know, there's that. I don't know exactly how much my car would be worth, but what I'm selling it for is probably going to be like 1K to 1,500 for like a, you know, friend discount, essentially, you know. It's going to be something like that. You're not a car person, you like trains more? Yeah, I'm not a car person myself. The only car model that I really know is that of my own car. I drive a 2005 Pontiac Vibe. I think this is my stop. I'm sorry. I literally... One of my favorite things to do in Watch Dogs has always been getting out of a moving vehicle when I reach my stop. But I forgot that, like, you know, I actually had to deliver the vehicle to this actual dedicated place and whatnot. So I had to do that. I wonder. I was mentioning before, like, on my last stream of this, that I usually have the stream running on that screen. But if I want to clip something for the sake of making a funny moments compilation down the line, I need to Alt-Tab off, it pauses the game, and then hit clip that because I can't have the stream running there. But now my computer might be able to handle running the stream. I'm gonna leave it running over there. I'm used to not actually having it running on this stream. Sorry that I'm alt-tabbing off a bit and whatnot. I'm used to not having it running on that screen for games that I'm playing on the same computer because, you know, my computer wouldn't like playing a game, streaming, and watching that same stream.
I get it.
But now it seems to handle it just fine. If it starts getting a little bit choppy, let me know and I'll, you know, pause the stream over there. But,
if you're ever looking for work.
What's wrong
yeah.
with my trench coat?
I should have been paying attention to the freaking conversations there, because a lot of conversations in this DLC have actually been, like, really good. Not as good as the wrench ones, but still pretty good and whatnot. But yeah, so let me know if it gets choppy and I'll do that. But yeah, I'm not a car person myself either. I just, you know my own car, where, like, it still gets me from point A to point B just fine. It's a very comfortable vehicle. It freaking is very good on gas. But it keeps on running into problems all the time. Like, the AC doesn't work. It hasn't worked for the longest time. There's no leak or anything for, like, the Freon. Like, I tested this once. Freaking filled up the tank with nitrogen, checked the pressure, and it wasn't going down. There's no leak. Refilled it with Freon, and then all of a sudden the AC just stops being cold, like, a couple weeks later, somehow magically anyway. So I don't know what the heck is going on with that. So the AC's been broken for a long time. Before I sell it to the neighbor, like, the reason I'm planning on selling it to the neighbor is because I plan on replacing my car soon. So I've been browsing, like, a bunch of used vehicles. A bunch of used vehicles that are way nicer than mine, have some things that mine doesn't have. Like a freaking backup camera. Maybe look into ones that have some Bluetooth so I can connect my phone and play my music in the car. That'd be nice. Something that has heated seats would be nice. Like, I'm looking into vehicles that... Something that can get me sorted vehicle-wise for a very long time and have a bunch of stuff that's nice to have that my current vehicle doesn't have. But yeah, the AC always seems to be broken. I'm gonna have to fix that before I sell that to the neighbor. The heat always seems to break during the winter. It does give off heat, but only just enough to just barely keep the frost off the windows, so you can't even, like, have the heat directed towards you. And I remember, like, this vehicle was owned by one person, then it was sold to another person, then sold to my dad, then sold to me, so my neighbor's gonna be the 5th owner. But anyway, my dad owned it before me, and it was sold to me during, like, my last year in high school? Actually, no, it was, like, halfway through grade 11, I think I first bought that vehicle off of him. And, the heat was broken since freaking back then as well. And I remember, on, like, the super cold winter days, I would literally get home from school colder than when I entered my car. Like, that's how awful it was. So... my car's a freaking hunk of junk, but it's my hunk of junk, and I love it. I adore my car. It's very nice and comfortable, and I've given it lots of love and care. And it still visually looks very nice. It has, like, a very tiny bit of rust on the very top, but apart from that, it still looks great. I love my car. It's so nice and comfortable, and I'd like to get something that's like it, that's, like, small and nice and comfortable, but, you know, is used, has a bunch of features that I would like, and doesn't freaking break the bank, especially after the PC upgrade recently, you know, and whatnot. Hello, Super Hyper Max, setting Watch Dogs. Yeah, technically speaking, it's not max settings, because shadows could be very slightly better. It could be ultra high. We go over the allocated RAM in the graphics card. I can set it to ultra anyway. And then this is what it looks like. It doesn't really make that much of a difference. And it still seems to, like, run it even when I go above the, you know, the VRAM usage and whatnot. Even if I go over the RAM dedicated for my graphics card there, it still seems to handle it okay. But, like, just to be on the safe side, I can just turn it down. So, like, that's what we're doing, essentially. So yeah, it's basically max settings Watch Dogs. Basically. And it's nice how it also shows like the GPU load and the CPU load in settings. And now we don't have to worry as much about the freaking CPU load as before, because now the graphics card was handling the streaming. Before today, until this point for the last several years, I've been encoding my streams using CPU and, you know, taking resources from that. But now that we're encoding using my graphics card, my freaking CPU is open to do more stuff. Like handle more things that would be a little bit more intensive. So it's freaking great. How are you doing today, Super Hyper? But yeah, there's a situation with the graphics card, situation with like new car plans and whatnot. And all that fun stuff. So hopefully sometime soon I'll find a vehicle that I can settle on, some used one from somewhere that has some nice stuff, and we'll see. We shall see. Something that I can be comfortable with for like a great many years to come and whatnot. So we shall see what happens with that. We shall see what happens with that and whatnot. So what is the next mission that we have here? So the next one down this line is going to be human cargo. We get Negev, LMG with a large magazine capacity apparently. So talk to Freddy. Freddy needs Aiden's help getting someone out of the city, but the catch is he has to find them first. What is this, Taken? What is this, Taken? But yeah, Super Hyper sounds like an interesting story you told, which for you was only a fragment. Yeah, I've been rambling here for a good while and whatnot. Doing all right. You're chilling in Discord server and it was fun. Nice. Always nice to do some Discord chilling and whatnot. I'm doing pretty alrighty myself. I spent today freaking yanking all the power supply cables out of my PC to put in a new power supply that could actually handle this card. I needed a 650 watt power supply at least for this card, and the one that I had in there was 600. So like, if only I had gotten a 651 from the get-go instead of a 601, however much time ago, would have saved me a lot of hassle. Big sad. It actually wasn't too much hassle, but like still, would have saved me some money, would have saved me some effort. Gosh darn it. So now I just have like a spare power supply, I guess.
Look, I was supposed to meet a
so now I have a spare of that. And then actually I'll let the scene play out and then I'll talk.
No show?
She dropped off the bloody map. I can't raise her, and the rest of her network's clueless. No, I ain't like her. Something's happened.
You want me to track her down?
I'd owe you in a big way, Pierce. So we were supposed to meet at the New Market. Her name's Violet Thorne. My height, mid-70s.
Violet Thorne. Where do I know that name from?
Maybe you were pen pals before they invented the telephone. Need any help or not?
Relax, I'm on it.
But yeah, so today I was doing that, freaking screwing around with my computer a whole bunch, and then there's that's not a collectible thing, that's a drone summon thing, Bob. And then went and had dinner over at my grandparents' place, as we'll sometimes do, and as always take along the doggy. Like, my whole family in this household came along this time. I have no siblings, it's just like my parents and I. But, you know, parents, myself, and the doggy, we all went along this time. And wound up going over there in my dad's truck, which is like very high off the ground, and my doggy is getting like pretty old and whatnot, and she can't jump that well, so I always lift her into even my vehicle. So I lifted her into the truck, and she's a freaking weird doggy. She hates being touched. She hates being picked up. She doesn't like people's faces close to her. Like, she hates being picked up and put into vehicles. It's probably like a freaking stubborn thing, like or an ego thing. Like, I don't have to rely on you to get in there. So on the way there, I lifted her into the side door of the truck, into the nice little doggy bed that she has there on the passenger seat. And then on coming back, when I opened the truck door and I called her over and told her to stay because I was about to lift her up, she just went for the jump anyway because she knew she was about to be lifted up, and she hates being lifted for some reason because she's so stubborn. And like, because she's getting older, and the whole reason that I lift her up is because when she jumped up there, she wound up bonking her legs on the side. She like made it. She dragged herself up to there, but she bonked her back legs and hurt herself a little bit because she didn't want to be picked up through her freaking stubbornness. So, oh, You brute. This is fine. But yeah, Doogie had a very fun visit and whatnot. Her stubbornness got her hurt jumping back into the truck again and whatnot. How about you don't? How about you don't? I just need a hack here. I don't need to defeat anybody.
Let's see. Scanning recent reports. Here we go. Violet Thorne taken to St. Thomas's Hospital by Albion.
Did I hit any of them with that? Nope. Time to go. Time to go. But yeah, spent some time there. Had some dinner. We wound up watching a movie on Netflix all together and whatnot. Though during that time, I may or may not have pulled out my laptop to remote into my desktop and work on editing upcoming episodes of Creators Collide while that was going on. And I brought these headphones over there, but like this cable is hooked up to my computer through the back, and I thought I had a spare cable in my laptop bag and I didn't. So I brought these headphones over there for no reason, and the only other headphones I had there were my freaking wireless earbuds that are like set up to be connected to my phone through Bluetooth. So I disconnected them from my phone, connected them to my laptop. So, like, my audio that I got when I was editing there was hella delayed, since the video editor was open and doing stuff on my desktop here, being sent through the internet to my laptop there, and then being sent wirelessly to my earbuds in my ear. Like, a good way across the city from the freaking PC that's initially doing the editing and whatnot that I was remoted into, so... Like, it was a little bit of painful editing because, like, my audio was hella delayed compared to the video and whatnot, so I was only able to do, like, the bare basics of editing, trimming down to, like, the footage that I actually wanted to use in, like, the final kind of thing, Bob. And then when I got home, I did a little bit of, like, the actual kind of final draft editing from there, where it's like, okay, now that I have the footage I want, I can actually start working with it for, like, what I managed to edit.
Looks like a military base.
That's a treat. And then after a little bit of editing, I started streaming. And that's been my day so far.
Pharma smuggling business.
And I guess I should mention that earlier today, before going out to like dinner at the grandparents' place, I did do like a short test stream on my freaking alternate Twitch account that nobody gets to know what it is, so that I can just freaking, you know, test it without anybody knowing that I'm streaming. That's what the purpose of it is and whatnot. I was doing some testing on that, figuring out like settings that I should be streaming at, and it seems to be working. And now this is like the first like real stream of sorts that we're trying out with this this card and whatnot. So I look forward to trying it out in the future, and that's been my day. That's been my day and whatnot. Well, she had a fun visit and whatnot. She just doesn't have fun with, you know, jumping things. But she'll freaking try to do it anyway because she's stubborn as heck. How about you don't? How about you don't? Like, we're thinking of at some point getting like a doggy ramp or something like that to help her into vehicles, like a little unfoldable stair thing for her to go up there, because, you know, we could just lift her up into vehicles, but she hates being lifted a lot. So at some point for vehicles, we might just wind up picking up a doggy staircase for her, is what we'll do. Like a little unfoldable vehicle staircase thing, Bob, that's meant for older doggies, is our plan. Oh my goodness, brutal. So in terms of like upcoming things to pick up in the near future, a little unfoldable doggy staircase is gonna be one of them and whatnot. Yeah, I know that I was just joking around, but yeah, on the subject of that, probably very soon get a doggy staircase. Oh my goodness, brutal. Oh my goodness, brutal. My goodness gracious. I mean, we do have like a ramp for her. My bed in the other room has this ramp up to it that my dad and I put together so that she could climb up onto my bed without, you know, having to make the jump. But she really doesn't like that ramp. She's like very scared of it, just about as scared as like actually jumping up there and whatnot. So, you know, smackaroo just randomly, sure. So it seems like she doesn't like ramps, so we might go with a small unfoldable staircase instead. Everybody gets taken down. Nobody is spared the smackaroo. Oh, hi. Hi, can I hack you? Can I please hack you? Gosh darn it, I did the quick tap. Can I just like... Okay. Let's just like this seems like an alright play, right? Can everybody get smackarooed? No? I don't have the smackaroo option anymore? Well. Oh. Everybody gets smackarooed. Nobody is spared the smackening. Okay, betray your friendos. But yeah, freaking escalator into a vehicle. That's what we can do. But yeah, so we're probably gonna go with like a small staircase for things like vehicles and whatnot. Escape in a vehicle with Violet Thorn.
Be able to just walk out the front door. Find an ambulance or something.
Find an ambulance?
I don't know. They're all over. Figure it out.
Boop. Okay. These gunshots are very loud. My goodness. Slowly getting more used to the reload timing. Slowly but surely. Maybe I just need to turn down my own volume a little bit. Okay. So, where are we going here? We probably can't go that way. Look at these tiles! Look how cool that is! Ah, I can't get over it! Hold on, wait. I want to see with it off again. Once again, I want to see with it off. Like, reflections... I can't turn it down if freaking ray tracing's on. Like, if we turn off ray tracing and turn reflections to, like, low and whatnot. This doesn't reflect at all if you have it on low. You know, just in case you want to be a little bit more considerate to your PC and whatnot. Like with my old graphics card. Like with my old graphics card, this is what it would have been set at. But now. Hello, Sate. How are you doing today? How go things? But now that we have the technology, if we switch it back into that, look how cool that is. I love technology, so cool. Like, I never knew that tiles like this were even reflective in this game because of the settings that we were playing at before today. You know? I didn't even realize that these were reflective. So I got to watch him next about how's a new thingy. It's really darn cool. It's really darn cool. Like, we were just doing a comparison of reflections there, for example, since the whole thingamabob with ray tracing is reflections. I can go ahead and show the thingamabob again if we turn it off. Like, ray trace reflections off and turn reflections to low. And these things just aren't gonna reflect. And, well, I guess very slightly with stuff like that. And this is what I played at with this playthrough for a super long time. But now, with, freaking stuff here, what even is ray tracing? You always hear about it. Is the freaking next gen technology for freaking reflections that I'll fully explain in a hot second here. Look how cool this is. Look how cool. I did turn it all the way back up, right? Like, I did it very fast. Yeah, there we go. So, essentially, in video games, the, yeah, you could say that it's realistic. It's a bit more complicated than that. But essentially, in video games... Yeah, but how? In video games, the only things that are really going to be fully rendered are the things that you're looking at. Like, there's no reason for it to, like, completely build up and develop the stuff that you're not looking at. Like, that's just, like, a waste of resources for, like, the console or PC playing it. So, like, looking at this stuff right now, it's going to be, like, fully loaded. But the stuff behind me is not going to be, like, fully rendered and whatnot. Because it doesn't need to be. But if I turn and face that way, then obviously it's going to be. Because you don't have any reason to freaking load the stuff that, you know, isn't on your screen. Let's shroud everybody. There's literally no reason not to. So, with graphics technology getting, like, better and better over time, it can only get so much better in terms of, like, the number of pixels on the screen. Because... you know, the human eye is only so good. Like, that's literally how far we are with graphics technology, that we're starting to get, like, better than the human eyes, where it's like, okay, increasing the number of pixels that games can do maybe isn't the play anymore, because, you know, what's the point if the human eye can't even see it? So where the industry has instead gone with creating, like, more realistic environments and whatnot, rather than increasing the number of pixels, is focusing on reflections. Because again, when you're not looking at something, it's not going to be, like, fully rendered or rasterized, is the more proper term, if you're not looking at it, because why would it have to be? So ray tracing is essential. Whoa, that was a weird glitchy effect. Ray tracing is essentially like you can still see the reflections of things that, you know, that aren't in your field of view. So, like, without any ray tracing at all, for example, I probably wouldn't be able to see the blue of that, you know, of those Quaitons there, or something like that, because it's not in my field of view. But essentially, rasterization is like the way that graphics are typically done in games, where it basically is like building the stuff like, I forget exactly how it works, but it's like some weird system of like layers of like building things up all the way towards you, and then that's like what your field of view is. Ray tracing, on the other hand, basically goes from like the camera itself and shoots out a bunch of beams that will bounce off surfaces and see where they land and then like render the thing that it lands on. And it's funny, that's how people, like, way before we knew more about science, a long time ago, there were all kinds of theories about how eyesight worked. And there were people that theorized that maybe our eyes just send out invisible lasers that bounce off things and tell us the information that, you know, that is over there. And, like, obviously nowadays we know that that's not the case in real life, but those theories from back then are now used in, like, graphics technology nowadays. And if you did just completely ray tracing to render graphics, it would look like a weird freaking blurry mess and whatnot. So modern graphics are made with like a mix, a nice balance of rasterization plus ray tracing, essentially. Because if you did like your graphics completely through ray tracing, it would not look very good. It'd be like a freaking weird mess. I'm no expert in this field, it's worth looking up on its own, but just know that rasterization is like the main kind of, you know, graphics thingamabob. Ray tracing is the teammate can't reach location, is the kind of system of send out beams from this point to see where it bounces and hits and then get information from that spot, and that's how you can get realistic reflections of things that you're not looking at. Like, look at that, I can see like the whole freaking building back there and whatnot and stuff. So graphics technology for stuff like this is like a mix of rasterization and ray tracing. You wouldn't be able to do like complete ray tracing for for like all your graphics, but by having like a mix of rasterization and ray tracing together, you can get like some cool looking stuff. Like, look at this freaking water puddles, I'm seeing the building, how cool is that? So that's essentially what ray tracing is, essentially. So, oh, it says escape in a vehicle with her, so we can just go in this. Wow, you backed up like very close and whatnot. So that is essentially that, and it's something that my computer would have never been able to handle until now, and something that I've never actually got to see firsthand until now. Like, I've heard about it all the time in my freaking game design and computing science classes. Like, we talk about it since it's like happenings in the industry and whatnot, especially in my game design classes. So I've seen it in plenty of videos, like on my own time, and freaking in these classes where it's showcased. But this is the first time I actually get to like play it myself. Like, it's cool.
Violet Thorn. You were one of the first.
Look at the reflections on the water of the buildings in the distance. It's cool. So yeah, that's essentially what ray tracing is, and why it's a big deal within the gaming industry. Because graphics technology can only get so good in terms of like the number of pixels and whatnot. So where the industry has moved, instead of increasing the number of pixels, is like, let's start working on creating more realistic reflections. That's essentially what's going on. Make things more realistic in a different way. In a way different from just increasing the number of pixels, since, you know, we're kind of reached our limits there. But yeah, so what's gonna be next after reflections? That's a very good question. I don't know the answer to that. Was it? I don't know if it was something discussed in my classes or whatnot. Maybe there isn't an answer right now. Maybe the industry is just working on reflections right now and is gonna figure out their next things sometime down the line. Like, I mean, you can always work on like better textures and like better models and whatnot. Like, for example, these trees, those are actually pretty good trees, now that I think about it. But like, you could have like more leaves and whatnot on the trees, I guess. Like more accurate models. More leaves for the trees, more polygons for your characters. There's already a lot of polygons that make very realistic looking characters, so maybe not that, but things like trees that are usually just like a weird mishmash of like leaves and textures and stuff like that. Maybe make individual leaves, I don't know, and stuff like that. Like individual stuff like that might be the next step, I don't know. But yeah. The next thing the industry is going to move towards, realistic trees. But yeah, look at Unreal Engine 5. Next step, Real Engine 1. We wanted the Unreal Engine. The next step is the Real Engine. This is what it is. My goodness, I gotta lose my freaking pursuers here. But yeah, so that's something very interesting when it comes to like the gaming industry and graphics technology. I wonder if it's going to be the kind of thing that's possible in Nintendo's next console. Like, Nintendo's always been a bit behind in terms of graphics technology because they've always focused on, you know, making consoles that can do, like, cooler things. Like the Switch, that's a home console and a handheld hybrid, is, like, a really cool kind of thing. That means that we don't get to see stuff like this on it and whatnot. I think that that's a worthwhile price to pay, because a home console handheld hybrid is a really cool thing, quite frankly.
This is the third time she's almost got me killed.
Is it now?
Is it now?
You knock.
I should be paying more attention to these conversations. I'm having too much fun rambling, I guess. But it does make me wonder if, like, by the time Nintendo releases their next console, whatever it's gonna be, if this is gonna be the kind of thing that's, like, possible in it. Because, like, you know, again, this was just something that I had heard about in my game design classes, and I had been fascinated with because of my game design class and whatnot. But now actually seeing it firsthand, it's like, whoa, that's so cool!
Power structure. No leader.
Like, it's not like it's necessary to have, like, a good game experience or anything like that. It's not gonna be the thing that makes or breaks a game, that makes a good or bad game. But it's so cool! Oh, my thought on... Oh, yeah, the whole Steam Deck kind of thing. I mean, Valve has tried some spicy, like, whack things here and there, with them not doing super well. So I feel like the Steam Deck could... It could have potential, but it might also be one of those things that people forget about soon after. Also, it was revealed at, like, the worst possible time. Because literally a few days before freaking Valve revealed their Steam Deck, Elgato revealed a new Stream Deck. So literally just like a couple days apart, Elgato reveals a new Stream Deck, and then Valve reveals Steam Deck. So like... These two very, 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 very similar sounding things were revealed literally within days of one another. Like,
Actually, I'm quite interested.
it's like if you wanted to confuse consumers 101 about like what new thing got revealed by revealing things that are literally one letter different in name, just a couple days apart. It's like, my goodness. So I feel like Elgato revealing a new Stream Deck has hurt the potential for people to hear about Steam Deck, you know. But yeah, if the Steam Deck is a success, could finally give Nintendo some competition. This is true. So I'm not 100% certain on the specifics. Like, when I first saw it, I thought maybe it was just supposed to be like a Wii U gamepad kind of situation where you could play in like the gamepad only mode, but you would have to be close to your PC to actually be able to, you know, play it there. But then I heard that it actually does have, you know, its own onboard memory and whatnot to install games onto it. Doesn't seem like it have a lot of onboard memory, like 64 gigs is like one of the options or something like that. Isn't freaking Grand Theft Auto 5 like 30 or 40, something like that, already on its own? So if you wanted to play stuff like that, it might be a little bit of a sketchy situation. And also makes you wonder, like, how well would it really be able to run these things, you know?
I can't leave her.
Like, yeah, I know I can't leave her. Maybe, just maybe they'll give us Virtual Console then. They probably won't because of how ingrained they are in their current ways of, like, you know, Nintendo Switch Online with, you know, NES and SNES games, and then, cherry picking their other classic games. Because if they gave us the Virtual Console, what would happen to Nintendo Switch Online? Would they just say, like, oh, I guess you can still freaking play NES and SNES games with a subscription, you can just buy them on their own? That'd actually be the best play. That'd actually be a pretty smart play. But, like, you can have access to this library as long as you have the subscription, but you can still buy them on their own, whether or not you have Switch Online and actually still own it.
Anyway,
That actually is the answer there now that I think about it. But I don't see Nintendo ever doing that.
You know, goodbye forever.
Wait, you're leaving?
Yep. Once I've got the legendary hacker back up north where she belongs, I'm getting the hell out of this country. This place ain't worth the risk anymore.
Look, Freddy, we could still really use
I
your
still
help.
feel like the
Yeah, so
daylighting is a
my
little bit
contract's
off.
in
I
Egypt.
thought that was just like my old
Hey,
graphics
way
card
better.
All
and
right.
whatnot.
Well, we've got
Just
a
my
lot of
PC
fight
not being the
ahead of us
best.
here.
But now with this card,
So if you ever change your mind,
I'm now
Look,
convinced
yes.
the daylighting is still
Sooner or later,
a little
every
bit wonky
cowboy has to ride
in
off
these
into the
games.
sunset.
At least I
That,
feel like.
or they get shot. Look me up if you're ever in Cairo, alright?
But yeah, in terms of where the technology can go from here, like, the amount of pixels that games can handle probably isn't gonna get too much better because the human eye is only so good anyway. But can definitely still do more polygons for things like more details on, like, hair, on trees, on stuff like that. Better textures, yada yada. Stuff like that can still be improved. But the big graphical thing has definitely been, like, reflections and whatnot. That is... I love that! That's so cool, man. Technology is amazing.